But that said, I got to say, you've come under such vicious personal attack yourself, and for a long time. I've covered on the show for years now what you've had to endure. Just today, for instance, Rachel Withers of the Left Wing Monthly asked for her Twitter trolls, believe this or not, to send in examples of you saying awful things that she could smash you in an article. Although when you read the article late this afternoon, she came up empty. You apparently haven't said enough bad things. I've said it many times how tough you are, Jacinta. I've said it to your face. But I thought last week it finally did get to you a bit. I thought, you betrayed some emotion there. How did it get to you? And are you up for the longer fight, given how nasty it is?
Yeah, look, what got to me is understanding that there are those that are suffering, that are in a worse position than I am. And I guess I felt a sense of frustration because it's really their voices that I've always tried to fight to amplify. And it can be really frustrating to try to get, particularly a Prime Minister, the ABC, for example, to actually take these issues seriously. And, an issue that is as serious as child sexual abuse, instead of actually focusing on the issue, doing some due diligence, the ABC, and recognising the truth with regard to the extraordinary rates in the Indigenous community, they try to turn it around and turn it into a Jacinta Price and Peter Dutton bashing exercise. And
it's ridiculous.
When you've lived with these truths all your life, it was just a moment where it just that sense of frustration and knowing that I've been fighting for so long, it took hold of me in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was concerned. I wonder sometimes whether you take on too many fights because it's superhuman what you're doing. Just quickly, I'm out of time, but I've got to ask you this because both you and Karen Little today raised it at your press conference. A phenomenon that's fascinated me for years. I mean, for me, it's the ultimate colonisation. You've had whites not just colonising the land, but now whites colonising Aboriginal identity, claiming to be Aborigines themselves. It's extraordinary. There's Melbourne University's Professor Bruce Pascoe, of course, complete fake. There's former Labor candidate Lauren O'Dwyer, who couldn't or wouldn't explain why her family tree didn't have a single Aboriginal ancestor. And South Australia's Attorney General, Kyle Maher, who refuses to explain why all his own ancestors in his genealogy are from Europe and won't tell us who his mother's supposed Aboriginal ancestor is. Now, why is this issue of identity important in the context of the voice?
Well, because there's this idea that somehow, what the government is trying to push is this concept that we're inherently disadvantaged because of our race. So everyone's got skin in the game. Whereas my argument has always been, not all of us are disadvantaged because we have Indigenous heritage or are just Indigenous, but those that are the most marginalised in this nation are mostly nothing but Indigenous in this country. And so their voices are those that are disregarded, drowned out, and you see a lot of exploitation of them. You also see a lot of reinvention of culture. And when you've grown up in a traditional cultural context, you can see the difference. But there are many who are prepared to exploit that because, of course, we've got an industry that's built on the misery, on the backs of the most marginalised, who are predominantly just Indigenous. And that's where the focus should be. And if we did that, then I think we'd have less of this opportunists ticking a box and claiming that they're something that they're not, and we could get on with the job of dealing with real disadvantage in this country.
Well, Jacinta, there's a mountain of work ahead of all of us, really, and particularly you. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for your time.